What's happening, YouTube? I wanted to make a video going over the latest event in Master Duel. That is the Legend Anthology that started yesterday night. So today's kind of been the first day to play it. I wanted to share my thoughts. You can tell by the video title, I'm not too happy with this event, and I'm going to go into excruciating detail why. When this event started, I was having a great time. I was actually playing a really cool Gaia Fusion deck. I was having fun playing this deck. I was able to pull off some pretty crazy combos between Dragon's Mirror, Advanced Ritual Art, Fusion Deployment, and Spiral Fusion to get the Lackluster Soldier Legendary Swordsman on the field, as well as the Dark Magician, the Knight of Dragon Magic, and a Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons. Yeah, just having a good time. Some very interesting duels, some very interesting game states. I'm actually going to upload tomorrow, I think, a video of a duel that I had against a Trickstar deck that I thought was pretty cool and had a lot of good back and forth and had a nice comeback victory. As I've continued to play throughout the day, I have been playing a decent amount. I have come to the determination, though, that this event is a flop. And the reason for that is this deck right here, the Unleashed Deity. This is the new Millennium Ankh deck. It focuses around summoning the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate and the Millennium Monsters. The problem that's happening is that this deck just has way too much gas compared to the other stuff that is currently legal in this format based on the ban list they created for Legend Anthology. So if you were hoping to have a good time with some Dark Magician or Blue Eyes or Red Eyes or Gaia like me, I've seen a lot of other Gaia players too, you are SOL. You are shit out of luck. This deck's going to steamroll you. And I'm going to show you guys a couple of the duels that I had where I decided to bite the bullet and just play this deck. As you can see, none of them lasted more than 3 turns. This deck is just absolutely dominating, and for good reason. So first game here, I decided can't beat him, join him. I decided I was going to play the deck. What happens is against other decks, you just have so much disruption and negation. There's not a whole lot they can do against you. And the mirror match really kind of comes down to who goes first. So this person, I don't know how. Somehow they bricked. And they didn't, I guess, have any route to draw more, which is crazy to me, or a way to get to Millennium Ankh, which is basic. I don't understand. It's really impossible, this deck. I have seen a lot of people who don't understand how to play this deck, and those people are pretty easy to walk over, but it's really not complicated. Again, I'm going to walk you guys through it. One of these losses, I do kind of go through a combo line because it was a mirror match and I had a lot of negates to get through, but there should never be a reason that you can't reach Millennium Ankh and get yeah, so they surrendered as soon as I activated it here. They weren't interested in playing against it. They were clearly sick of it too. This one had 2 turns, so I believe they did get to play the game. So yeah, so they went first. But yeah, I mean, there's so many routes to Millennium Ankh to get the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate on the field. It's ridiculous. Yeah, okay, yes. So this person was playing Dark Magician. Now, you would think that Dark Magical Circle would be a wonderful combo to unstoppable Exodia Incarnate, because he can't be destroyed by opponent's card effects, but he can be banished by the Dark Magical Circle. You would be wrong, and you're about to see why. I didn't even need to do it. But what you can do is you can just negate the effect with the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. To be fair, I could have negated the Eternal Soul effect as well to even bring the Dark Magician back. But originally right here, I was just trying to debate the Dark Magical Circle because I forgot that the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate had that negation effect. So they wasted the banishment with Dark Magical Circle. We're going into Millennium Ankh here. And Obliterate Blaze is just, it just ends the game. It just ends the game. It's an OTK. It gives the Exodia Piercing. It destroys all your opponent's spell and trap cards, so that's why their monsters all got blown up, because it nuked the Eternal Soul, which blew up all of his monsters. And there's just, I haven't seen any deck that's legal for this event that has been able to deal with this level of power, with this kind of play, nuking all spells and traps. One of the big moves here is setting a trap card at the end of the turn with the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate's effect that will just nuke your opponent's field. And it's just really easy to reach these combo lines. And then the mirror match isn't much fun either. I mean, it really comes down to who goes first. They're going to activate the Millennium Ankh right off the bat, going straight into the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. Whole purpose of this deck. Super easy. You can basically trigger it at any time as long as your Forbidden One pieces aren't banished. So I went with the Wedju Temple, trying to get the negate out of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. They trigger the Exod Fires of Rage, which if you control a level 10 or higher Exodia monster, you destroy all cards your opponent controls. So just blew it up before I could do anything with it. Then I'm going to trigger Heart of the Blue Eyes, discard it for my Millennium Ankh, activate Shield of the Millennium Dynasty. We did Heart of the Blue Eyes first so that we could avoid paying life points for Shield of the Millennium Dynasty. And I'm using it so that I can get a second Millennium Ankh because the first one is obviously going to get negated by the Unstoppable Exodia. So that's going to be negated. Now, looking back, oh, maybe I did go through with this. Okay, yeah, so I triggered the effect here of Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures, revealed the Millennium Ankh, brought him on the field, grabbed another Wedju Temple, activated the Wedju Temple. No. Okay, so I grabbed the Maiden of the Millennium Moon for protection here. I was thinking back on this duel and I thought maybe I didn't do that. I did. She can protect your the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate from being targeted, which will come up in the next replay I show you guys. And then I triggered my Millennium Ankh, but Heart of the Blue Eyes does not target. So just tributes him right off the field. I already burned 2 Ankhs, so it's over. And at the end of the turn, he's going to get Obliterate Blaze. There's nothing left to do at this point. There's nothing you can do. And genuinely, I saw someone playing Stardust Dragon earlier. I do wonder if that could stop this deck. But again, I think it's going to come down to a coin flip. It's just going to be based on who goes first. Because if you go first and you're able to set Exod Fires of Rage, you can really disrupt their synchro play before they even get to Stardust Dragon. Obliterate bounces monsters, and they're going to need to have that spell card on the field that prevents Stardust monsters from getting bounced in order to dodge that. So I surrendered at this point. I mean, the game was over. All he had to do was trigger Exod Fires of Rage and blow up my field, attack for piercing, and win the game. So this one, the Millennium Moon Maiden effect comes into play in the sense of, if I had had it, I would have been able to probably dodge the counter that this person came up with. It's still a mirror match, but they went and crafted all these cards from the archetype so that they could do something a little bit different. And I'll applaud them for that because it's a great counter to this deck. But yeah, okay, so here's where I think if I had been able to, I would have gone Millennium Moon Maiden and I would have been able to protect myself here. The opening play of this other person, and this is pretty genius, I actually never would have thought of this even though I love this card, is Puppet Plant. They're going to discard the Puppet Plant, they're going to take my Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate, and if I had had Millennium Moon Maiden, I could have avoided the targeting effect of Puppet Plant, but I didn't. They activated their own Millennium Ankh here, and it's GG. They have 2 8,000 attack monsters to attack through, and there was nothing I was going to be able to do here, so I surrendered. So it was a pretty ingenious play. I'll give them props for that, but I don't have the resources to go out and craft that deck on my own, and I'm not even having fun playing this deck because it's too easy. It's way too easy. There's so many paths to Millennium Ankh. You are always going to trigger Millennium Ankh to summon the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. Some of these spells and trap cards have effects to add Exodia pieces to your hand to assemble Exodia and win the game that way, and it's useless. There's no reason to ever go that route with this deck. There's just no purpose. There's no point. You have so many other options to win the game consistently. Why would you ever waste time trying to reassemble the Exodia pieces in your hand? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And it's kind of a bummer because I think most Exodia decks nowadays just relate to drawing as many cards as you can and getting Exodia as fast as you possibly can. And I think an archetype with like a fusion Exodia like this is really cool, fully assembled Exodia. And bringing back the Millennium Monsters, I think, was great, and giving them, just giving some of these monsters that weren't Millennium Monsters retrains, I think was really, really cool. I love that. But it's just like, even like Sengenjin wakes from a Millennium. Who cares about this card? You're not ever... I mean, maybe you're searching Millennium Moon Maiden for the extra layer of protection, but for the most part, these cards are not super important. You are always trying to get Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate on the field. Use his effect to set the card that blows up the field. The opponent's end phase, you're setting Exod, Rages of Fire, and you are triggering it, blowing up all their spells and traps, and attacking for like 14k with Piercing that your opponent can do nothing about. Because you're going to negate any spells or traps that they try to chain to Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. He has protection from card effects, and if you can get Millennium Moon Maiden out, you can protect from targeting. He's very, very protected. And at this point, I had no path. I think I had a path to Millennium Ankh, which would get negated, so I just had to surrender. So the mirror matches are really boring, but even winning with this deck is not fun. It's just... I don't think I could justify spending the tokens to craft the cards for this deck just to splash in my own copies of Puppet Plant for the annoyance that I'm dealing with in Legend Anthology. I think that the Volcanic deck and the Trickstar deck are pretty well powered to what's available for Legend Anthology, but this deck right here is just absolutely hitting the gas. It's got way too much. It does too much. The duels are just going to come down to a coin flip, honestly. I was worried about the Stardust summon, so I just triggered the Exod Fires of Rage, nuked the monsters, set another one at the end of the turn just to do it all over again if I want to. So this is what I'm talking about. Exod Fires of Rage, I could banish it to get another Exodia piece. I had 3 in the hand, but why would I ever need to do anything with this? Sorry, I've been confusing Obliterate Blaze with Exod Fires of Rage. Obliterate Blaze is the spell trap that just gives him 10k from equipping all the Exodia pieces, gives him Piercing, and the effect increases his attack by your life points is still going to trigger. So, I mean, in most instances, you're getting a 15k attack monster with Piercing who can't be destroyed by card effects, probably loses its targeted protection, but if you've triggered the spell card, you've blown up all your opponent's spells and traps. They're reliant on monster effects at that point. And based on what I've been seeing in Legend Anthology, there's not a whole lot of monster effects that are going to offer the kind of banishing or bouncing disruption during your opponent's turn to out it. So it's just not a good time. This deck is completely taken over Legend Anthology. It's not fun to play with. It's not fun to play against. And I'm getting really sick of Master Duel doing stuff like this. You know, I think they need to take more consideration into the balancing of the decks that they allow into these special formats. I understand that because it's the Legend Anthology, they want all these classic cards to be usable, because Exodia is a classic archetype. But at the same time, it's like, my brother in Christ, this is new support. This was like 2 sets ago. What is the Gaia deck that I have going to do about that? What is a Blue Eyes or Dark Magician deck going to do about that? It just can't keep up with the power creep of the deck. So I'm halfway through the event. In 1 day in, it goes on for 2 weeks. I started this event telling myself like, hey, I might keep playing this because it's, fun. Maybe even after I collect all the rewards, I'll keep going with it. Now I've reached a point where, honestly, I think if I even make it to 1100, I'm just going to call it quits there because it's just gotten really frustrating. So yeah, that is my thoughts that I wanted to share with you guys after the first day of Legend Anthology. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. and I will catch you guys in the next one.